Paper Mario. This is a great video game. I never would have imagined the Mario series would be so well paired to the RPG structure. This game is not only a huge success in fleshing out the Mario universe, but a very well executed RPG adventure on its own, showing a full understanding of the basic appeals of the genre. It's nice to see a first entry imprint itself as one of the best in its series. Leaving such an impactful legacy, the Paper Mario fanbase is still very strong to this day. While some elements of the game could have been executed a little better, I'm hard-pressed to say I have many real problems with the game. In this video, I'm going to lay out what I found to be the best and the worst aspects of this game. Be warned that full spoilers for Paper Mario are on the table. The best. Number 1, a tangible Mushroom Kingdom. While the Mario universe is always host to characters and stories, rarely throughout the series is it ever expressed with this level of context and believability. Paper Mario connects the Mushroom Kingdom together to create a world that actually feels like it exists, with towns, regions, and individuals with unique designs, names, and personalities. This is the Mario world fleshed out in a way unseen in most classic titles in the franchise, and it's remarkably well done. To start, Peach and Bowser have actual dialogue existing in this world to the fullest extent, with motivations and feelings. It's a depth that adds an entirely new layer to their characters, making this by far the most real they've ever felt. Mario has a house where he lives with Luigi, which is a nice, simple way to show their existence in the kingdom. The world building present here adds so much to the identity of the series, and the useful tattle ability Goombario provides fleshes everything out even more. Party members join Mario on this adventure with their own priorities and roles as well. They even get mail as you progress, securing them as beings with actual lives and families. Toad Town is one of my favorite hubs, showing Toads living together with different occupations and relationships, female variants, and even children. Enemy characters are also given a lot of identity, with a charming family of Goombas, a quiet village of Koopas, and an old mansion haunted by boos. I particularly love Starborn Valley and the lore it gives for how stars are born, ascend to the skies, and one day may become powerful star spirits. Look at them pretend to be a monster and protect their home. So freaking cute. Bowser's followers aren't all basic enemy types either, with a lot of distinct bosses that leave an impression, and the well-considered Kammy Koopa is a fantastic personality for Bowser to play off of. It's also engrossingly charming and easy to care about. This Mushroom Kingdom is a fascinating place to discover, and commendably executed, providing a whole new perspective on the Mario universe that lifts up the authenticity of the entire franchise. Number 2, Peach's perspective. Paper Mario takes advantage of its unique setting to present loads of creative, fun scenarios throughout the whole experience. And one of the best things about this is how Princess Peach is integrated into the story. It all begins with Bowser stealing an overpowered magical object that can grant his every wish, using his newfound star power to defeat Mario and kidnap Princess Peach, as well as her entire castle. Way to start off with a bang. Despite the traditional setup, it's effortless to be drawn into this opening due to how well paced it is. And it's at this point you'd think, okay, I guess I won't be seeing Peach again until the end. But thankfully, this game takes full advantage of this opportunity. After each chapter, the game cuts to Peach for a small gameplay segment, showing her perspective and allowing her to have some adventuring of her own. Sneaking around the castle to gather information and trying to escape is a whole lot of fun. It's a really novel scenario, with some stealth portions that thankfully aren't annoying. A parasol that you can impersonate the guards with, although it's only used briefly towards the end. And who can forget the love it or hate it cooking mission that's made me want a piece of cake more times than I can remember. I love how present Peach feels throughout this game. Her parts help round out the adventure and lend her some much needed character. She's never felt as strong-willed and capable as she does in the earlier Paper Mario games, even with her getting kidnapped. Twink, the star kid helping her, is also adorable as hell, and the role he plays in the final battle is inspired and a satisfying payoff to his inclusion. Number 3, Chapters of Brilliance. This is a quality adventure adventure from start to finish, with a variety of environments and stories so you never know what's coming next, with every chapter presenting its own identity and mood. Chapter 7 is by far my favorite. Snow themes go a long way with me, and the warm interiors and magical musical tracks couldn't be cozier. The penguin murder mystery is a particular highlight, and the chapter dungeon, the Crystal Palace, is a wicked cool place to explore that makes the most of its mirror motif. Chapter 3 is another standout, and probably the most famous chapter in this game. After navigating through a spooky forest, you're greeted to an old haunted mansion dripping with atmosphere. Puzzling through it and befriending the boos, only to help them stop the gluttonous Tubba Blubba from eating their entire species, makes for an immensely creative and memorable chapter. The expedition to Lava Lava Island is another all-star, boasting an adorable village of Yoshis, a large jungle to explore, and of course, the exciting climax where you have to escape an erupting volcano. Also, I freaking love Lava Piranha. There's still so much I haven't even mentioned. The trip to the desert to find mysterious ruins, the Toad Town invasion of mischievous Shy Guys stealing everyone's prized possessions, and although regularly looked at as the weakest part of this game, Flower Fields is awesome, and I love it. What an unexpected theme for so late in the game, with super dreamy vibes and entertainingly dramatic talking flowers. Also, I freaking love Huff and Puff. Every chapter is held up really well by snappy, humorous writing. It rarely wastes your time, often conveying information directly without sacrificing personality or charm, and strikes a really great balance. Despite dialogue being humorous and light, it stays engaging because motivations and plot lines are clear and relatable. This is my kind of storytelling, grounded and easy to get into. Number 4, simplicity. RPGs can easily get overly complicated. While I understand how many enjoy some of the more depthful systems, honestly, out of all the RPG combat systems I've experienced, this is one of my favorites because of its simplicity. It's a very basic battle system, but it not only suits this game, it allows for a simple satisfaction to decision making. It's so direct half the time it might as well play itself, but it's just so fun to do regardless. Action commands bolster the combat perfectly by asking for a bit of reactions with button pressing to increase output or minimize damage. It adds a nice layer to fights, keeping them involved without sacrificing the accessibility. On top of that, low numbers are used for calculations, making it easy to know what you can accomplish on your turn. The math is easy to do, and because of this, planning and pulling off strategies is something you can execute with confidence. RNG is very minimal in this battle system, and while that can make many fights abusable, it's a whole lot more satisfying to have a plan and pull it off than to clumsily stumble your way through a fight due to constant interruptions by obnoxious RNG. I'm a firm believer that easy to understand, consistent battle mechanics allow for more rewarding planning and execution. There are, unfortunately, a few choices with this combat system that trivialize a lot of other strategies, but I'll get into those more later. In any case, this is an easy game, but what matters is that it's fun to play. Number 5, a charming presentation. I've highlighted this kind of point many times before, but it's particularly notable how much this game's presentation adds to the experience. The storybook aesthetic and lovely backgrounds look great and lend a unique flair to the world and characters. Entering a building for it to unfold like a dollhouse is not only novel, but allows going inside to feel more immersive. Battles are framed like plays on a stage, increasing that storybook feeling even more, with a lot of cute visual touches backing it up. There's something very enjoyable about exploring these 3D environments with 2D elements, Shy Guy's toy box being a noteworthy example. Paper effects, while used sparingly, are a lot of fun to watch too, such as Mario falling like a piece of paper. Atmosphere is well done in every location, largely due to exceptional music choices. There are some really magical locations. The desert is dry and feels like a tiring place to cross. The jungle is bustling with activity and all sorts of quirky plant life, and the haunted mansion has a nice tension to it, actually feeling a little creepy. And like I said before, I'm a particular sucker for Flower Fields' daisy, nostalgic mood. The music really adds to this game's unyielding wholesomeness. Worth calling out the lack of a constant hub on the screen, leaving a nice full view of the scene at all times. Interfaces in general are speedy. It's quick and easy to use items, swap partners, go in and out of the menu, and buy things at a shop. Interruptions are brief, and you're always getting back to the action quickly. Paper Mario is a really well put together game, with an instantly iconic graphical style that's held true to the series to this day. And that's about the bulk of the best qualities of Paper Mario. Though I'll also say, I love the boss silhouettes shown at the beginning of each chapter. It's a great tease for what lies ahead, allowing for some excitement to build up. The endgame epilogue and parade showcasing characters and bosses from the journey is also a very charming sequence to end on. But okay, now that we've come to the end of our own praise parade, it's time to lay out the weakest qualities of this experience. Considering how well crafted this game is overall, be prepared for nitpicks and things that just missed their full potential. The worst. Number 1, underdeveloped partners. Partners to play off of Mario and overcome obstacles are a really good idea, especially when those partners are unique members of the various enemy types from the series. Unfortunately, while all of them are completely likable characters, there's a lot of missed potential with their implementation. First is field application. They're pretty much used to deal with the one thing they're made for, and outside of that, little else. And that's fine, the formula works well as is, but because these situations are so obvious, there's not really any thought to using them. Very rarely do you work with them in inspired ways, and this shows particularly in Bowser's Castle. Being the final chapter, it's reasonable to expect a bump up in conceptual level design, but that doesn't really happen here. It's use the partner on the thing, which by the end of the game feels a little like padding. Partners are also lacking in combat. Even though they have some useful buffs, since most of their moves are attacks, they don't add a lot to strategy. While they each specialize against different kinds of enemies, between star powers, items, and Mario's own absurd power with the right badge setups, you'll likely handle battles entirely on your own. So there's not a lot of incentive to use many of them throughout the game, and often a single partner will cover a battle on their own. I tattle every new enemy, so Goombario naturally gets the most use out of me, but besides him, I primarily used Watt because she can boost Mario's power and hit enemies wherever they are while also ignoring their defenses. A few others are useful in specific situations, like Sushi with the Lava Piranha, but I wish there was more incentive and benefit to swapping partners and using everyone. And while I complimented narrative simplicity earlier, some of these partners are a little too underdeveloped. Bombette and Watt get the worst of it, but most party members have very little going on, and not much reason to be joining Mario. Despite these shortcomings, they're still all very lovable, so don't take this as a severe criticism. I'm just acknowledging that both mechanically and narratively, they could be a lot more fleshed out. Number 2, overpowered items. While this may contradict some of my simplicity praises from earlier, some of the in-battle resources unfortunately belittle a great deal of the combat system. I don't expect my Mario RPGs to be completely balanced, but my word is this an easy game to become overpowered in. Items are the first of the 2 main reasons why. Between Fire Flowers, Thunder Rages, and Shooting Stars, items that hit all enemies are very accessible. It doesn't take long until you can start buying Thunder Rages, which deal 5 damage to every opponent, and while it does cost coins to keep buying these, it's not hard to be overflowing with money in this game. What this means is, if you use these items, outside of boss battles, almost every fight in the early chapters is completely trivialized. They fall off in usefulness about halfway through the game, but they're replaced by something even more abusable we'll get to in a moment. Healing items are similarly overtuned. Life shrooms, which revive you from death, are easy to come by, and theoretically you can go into battle with 10 automatic revives. Granted, they're somewhat expensive, but that's a strong effect. And even if you only took a few with you, it's even easier to load yourself up with cooked meals, most of which provide enough healing to top you up to full HP and FP, with just a bit of running around to get ingredients. And don't get me wrong, it's all well and good for proper preparation to pay off in an RPG, and it can be satisfying to feel unstoppable in a game. But the existence of these options and how early they're available significantly reduce the requirement for strategy in combat. Why puzzle out how to deal with enemies when you can just use Thunder Rage and wipe the board? Why be mindful of your move selection when you can just spam your strongest attack and top up your HP and FP with healing items? There's an even more glaring ability though, that affects strategy to an even greater extent. Number 3, overpowered star powers. Star spirits are the other option making you overpowered, with one specifically worth calling out. After Chapter 3, you learn Star Storm, an attack that hits all enemies for 7 damage. It only costs 2 meters of star energy to use, and is freely replenished at any Toad house, which aren't hard places to go to. You want to talk about trivializing? This move is powerful enough to win almost every non-boss fight in the game in 2 uses. And like I said before, I like that this game isn't too demanding. Breaking games with overpowered options can be a lot of fun, but there's no denying how easy it is to laugh off most of the combat in this game when you have a power that can end the fight with barely any interaction. It diminishes a lot of other strategies and moves since you can just nuke the field over and over practically for free. Starstorm is just given too early, and easily becomes a crutch for battles with multiple enemies. Some of the other star powers have pretty strong effects as well, such as Lullaby, which can put the whole field asleep for only 1 meter of star energy, and Time Out, which stops enemies from having turns, but look, it gets rid of so many the fight's basically null and void. While I'm fine with this game being easy, I just wish there was more incentive to use literally any other strategy in regular fights. When presented with crazy powerful options, you shouldn't have to intentionally avoid them for combat to be more compelling. Number 4, dialogue errors. This one doesn't need much explanation. When speaking to Ralph about badges, instead of a keen eye, he says N keen eye, which is incorrect. When speaking to Colorado while boarding the whale, instead of saying volcanic, he says volvanic, tisk tisk. While tattling in Mount Lava Lava, Goombario says over 2 times in a row. He ain't right, but maybe he was stumbling over his words? When speaking to a Dryite in Dry Dry Outpost about Merlovely, he incorrectly says her name as Merlovey. But hey, maybe he just got her name wrong. None of these are a big deal, obviously, but worth mentioning, and clearly errors. Moving on. Number 5, a few more things. I'm just gonna list these off. Despite there being quite a large cooking repertoire, there's no kind of cookbook or reference to keep track of the recipes you've made, and it'd be nice if there was one. It'd also be nice if items and coins stayed on the field for more than a few seconds. A plot point is all that's left. If Bowser has a rod that can grant his every wish, there's absolutely no reason he should fail at anything he wants to do. This is a silly Mario game, so I don't mind this too much, but it's kind of a distracting plot point, and I'd appreciate some excuse in the game beyond Bowser's satisfied with his wishing for now. Oh yeah? Was he still satisfied when Mario's rescuing star spirits left and right and trashing his minions? Way to go, chump, you have no one to blame but yourself. And there you have it. See what I mean about nitpicks? I wouldn't call any of these significant problems, mostly missed potentials and abusable options. It should be clear by now how much I love this game, how much I love existing in its world. Paper Mario has so many wonderful qualities, it's no wonder the series has stuck with people for so long. This is a remarkable representation of the Mario universe firing on all cylinders, and completely worth your time if you've enjoyed other entries in this series. It's one of the best games I've reviewed in the Best and Worst series, and still holds up very well to this day. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked my video, subscribe and check out my Patreon. I'll see you next time.